on film, and that never happened. And so I became pregnant with Winnie, or maybe not quite yet,
No.
and I realized, gosh, I know Liz. I've known Liz since 2002. I used to live in Mexico. I met her when she was, swimming around taking shots of people at the surf camp. And so I thought, I'm just going to reach out to her. So I emailed her, hey, long time no see. I have this idea, and I'm wondering if I ever want to do something with this, what would I do? And she wrote me back. Or sorry, I thought she was going to write me back and say, here's this to-do list of all these things that you'll never do. And I knew I wouldn't do them, right? But I wanted to know what to do just in case. And instead she wrote back and said, hey, I want to make your film. And I was blown away. I just didn't ever anticipate that. It didn't even cross my mind. And so that's what started it all.
Yeah, I was really excited to hear about Katie's story because in my own life, I didn't want to give up surfing to get pregnant, and it was a factor in me not having children because I just couldn't picture being able to surf. I didn't know any women in Northern California, where I grew up in San Francisco, that surfed while pregnant. I think in Hawaii it's more common, but on the mainland in California at that time, I never heard of any woman surfing while pregnant. So I thought it was a lot of the reason I make my films is to explore something I want to know more about, and so I wanted to know what it was like to surf pregnant. So it was cool when Katie told me about her story, and I had a film partner at the time, Paul Ferraris, and asked him if he wanted to join me in the journey of making film, and so we made it together.
I was going to say a lot of that footage was, it just timed out that I was pregnant with my second child. So a lot of the pregnancy footage was mostly my second child.
This is definitely more of an independent feature, something very much a passion project. Talk about the filming process of this, how you guys went about putting everything together, how long it took.
Well, none of my films get any kind of financial backing from the surf industry. I actually work on other people's films to pay for my films, as well as some of my little merchandise out there. You saw my t-shirts. The production values in films that have financial backing from the surf industry, they have better production values, basically, because they have more money to spend and they can hire multiple cinematographers. I do everything myself with Paul or with my first film, which was One Winter Story, about the first woman to surf Mavericks. My film partner then was Sally Lundberg, who's from the Big Island. And it just takes as long as it takes because of that, because we have to have day jobs. I have freedom to do whatever I want, and I don't have to worry about feedback from the surf industry or making sure I include this surfer or do, product placement, anything like that. I'm really interested in regular women's stories, like women and girls who carve out the time to get in the water and make that time for, if it's not surfing, anything, and why women do that, why it's important to them, how does it change their lives, what does it mean to them. So that's why I make these films.
I told Liz my story, my side of the story, and suddenly they're at my house filming, and they filmed us completely individually. We did not have any clue what we were going to be asked, and then she made this film, and she was able to write the story, which completely represented everything, like the heartbeat of who we are or were at that time in our lives as a group of mamas and friends and community. And she got it, that she could interview us all separately, and suddenly she got us. And you saw, and every time I see this film, I'm just so emotional because it really hits, how I feel about our story. It hits that heart space that is just so special. I don't know what you've done with it.
That's the work of a filmmaker. I mean, an amazingly talented filmmaker like Liz here. And we were talking outside a little bit, but I mean, this definitely has that really close-knit community feel to it. So, Katie, if you guys could both maybe just talk a little bit about the music of this film.
Okay, so one thing that is very special to me about the music in this film, well, the film in general, is about community and that family love, and every single piece of music in this film was written or sang by a family member or a friend. And that just absolutely makes it even more special to me personally.
Katie's uncle is Kenny Loggins. That's how we got that song.
But my cousin is an amazing singer. His daughter, Honolulu, and she sang the first song in here as well. And then Ashley, who's in the film, she sang the majority of the songs. So it's really special.
I guess let's start opening up to the audience. Any questions from the audience? Yes.
For both of you, what was the most meaningful part of this journey?
Well, it actually came at a really challenging time for me because in the middle of making the film, I live in Ojai, California, which is near Ventura, and you may have read about it in December 2018. We had 18? No, 17. We had a major fire. We were basically the donut hole in the donut of the fire, and we had to evacuate, and I got really sick from the smoke and got put in the hospital. So it was challenging for me physically because I just finally, in the last few months, my lungs have finally recovered. So that was a major problem it took a little longer than I had hoped because of that. I wanted to tell a story of community because increasingly, especially from the time we started when Katie called me, to now, it just feels like people forget about the importance of community, and even though we have different viewpoints and come at life different ways, that coming together to help each other out, I feel is so important. And I use my films to talk about universal topics, just through surfing as the lens through which I tell those stories. And so that's why to me, the beauty of this film was the most important thing, is seeing that these women had this challenge. They wanted to be able to surf, but they don't have much money, and how do you do that? And to come together and support each other to be able to continue surfing is really a beautiful thing.
Like, in my life, I've had so many ideas and so many thoughts that come through, like, oh, this would be really cool, and I wish I could do that someday. And what I learned is that I put it out there, and I used my resources, and it came back to me. And this little tiny spark of an idea that I thought would be cool suddenly is, screening here and screening in the largest, European surf film festival. And what? And if we ask for help and we put our ideas out there and we don't let our fears hold us back, there's so many things oh, no, that will never happen, but really, things can happen. And I think that is a massive lesson that I have learned from this. Something that is just propelling me into the rest of my life, I'm living my life differently because of this. Is that I started the at Surf Mamas on Instagram, and I'm seeing that, that's a message I'm trying to continue to put out there, and I am seeing the responses from other people that are like, wow, I didn't know that we could do this, or you all are an inspiration. I'm still surfing because you shared this message with us.
I think what's really important, to think about is the way women's surfing has progressed by just women taking charge and not waiting for the surf industry to do what women would hope that they would do. And so if you're I started out shooting surf photography in 1990. I thought about the idea in 95 and picked up my camera in 96 because I wasn't seeing women being reflected in photographs in the magazines, and I was like, well, if they're not gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And it's been so beautiful to watch and more women pick up cameras and shoot photos and make films and start surf companies and magazines and these surf film festivals. I mean, so I want to encourage anyone in the room, men or women, to, if you have an idea, sometimes you just have to leap off the cliff and see what happens. And it's okay if it doesn't work out, but it's really beautiful when it does. And it's the only way things are going to change is for women to take charge.
We are badass, right? Like us women, we're freaking awesome. But I have to give a shout out to the guys out here and to the guys in my life that have supported me through my life, that are part of this process as well, that are willing to evolve and transition through our growth.
We here at the festival, you know, we have our platform here, and we're glad that you guys are here to see this. So if anyone here is a filmmaker, if you're making any content that you think needs to be represented, please contact us. We're always open to submissions. We want to see your films on our screen as well. So please submit. You can find my card upstairs if you'd like. My name is Sarah Fang. You can find my email online. Please submit whatever you'd like. We take everything year round. And you know, I'm so grateful to be able to curate programs like this, but that's only because there's content like this out there. So, I mean, we always need more content. So please do that if you have any projects.
It's not really a question, but I love how you said that you guys were a little bit competitive, and then it switched, and it became more cohesive and having fun. And it's actually something that I'm starting to see in the water more and more. That like sometimes when women paddle out, they kind of have that like face, like game face, like this is my heat, and you're like, oh, well, it's like 6 a.m. Just chill, it's all good. But it's switching. In the last few years, it's really switched. And it was just neat for you guys to say that. And now it's just so nice. And you say the women are smiling, and cheering each other on.
I mean, I'm obviously right there with you on that one. And it's funny because you keep saying the word stoked. And I remember like when Liz told us what she wanted to call a film, we were all like, what? That's like the longest name we've ever heard in our life for a film. She's like, no, this is it. And yeah, like, how stoked are you? Like, you get your hour and a half, or like, you're just amped, you know? You have to consciously do that, you know? So I think becoming a mother and then being able to share those things is what kind of helped me do that.
Yes.
I just want to thank you for the film, but I want to, hopefully it's going to get out and empower a lot more people instead of in these tiny little, you know, surf festivals. But also, I was wondering if you got to surf in Hawaii, and where are you surfing?
So I lived in Kailua, so I went back to my favorite spot today, outer and inner pops, so I surfed there, but I haven't been surfed. Like I said, my lungs are just starting to work again, so I'm hopelessly out of shape, and I felt like the biggest kook ever, but I had so much fun, and I was just sitting there like, oh, I love this spot so much. But when I was in Kailua, I like to surf cockroaches and castles, if I didn't want to make the drive with the poly, so I like small waves too, which is kind of funny because I actually made my first film with Sally was about the 1 minute story about the first woman to surf Mavericks, and people are always like, oh, do you surf Mavericks too? No. Like anything over my head, like I don't even want to know. I tried to shoot in the water in the cove at Mavericks, and I got tossed around so much. That's like, I was maybe 15 feet from the shore, and I bailed. I went back in.
I'm not from here. I have no idea where I've been surfing. So what I've learned is that I've been surfing at rock piles and in-betweens. And then today I spent 2 hours paddling around looking for Liz in the water. Oh, I'm so sunburned. And so I surfed at inner pops and outer pops and paradise. Is that what it's called? So outer and inner. I really don't know. There was some other place I surfed, and then some guy said, oh no, you gotta go all the way back over there where pops is. So I got around today, experience, and I will tell you that the people in the water were unbelievably amazing. like, guys, do you live here? Tell me where I am. I'm like, anywhere close to Palm. The water temperature is incredible. I just go out there and I just float on my back every single day. I'll even like stretch in the water and just be like, oh my gosh, like, this is amazing. But you guys are so fortunate to be here.
Excited and stoked. And I actually grew up in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And my little sister, my younger sister is pregnant and she lives in San Diego. And so I know that she's been kind of like stressed out and stuff, so that was just like really emotional and empowering for me, and I can't wait to show her and tell her about it.
Oh, tell her how to see the film. So there's a few different ways on the Instagram site at Surf Mamas. I am trying to stay up to date with where our screenings are, you know, which film festivals we're currently screening in, but the easiest way is to go on to thesurfnetwork.com. And you don't have to pay a membership, but it kind of seems like you have to sign up for one. You don't really, but you have to sign an account, and then you can just pick individual films you want to see, and we're there. And so, yeah, tell her that.
And my other 2 films are on the Surf Network as well. So there's One Winter Story, then there's La Maestra, which is actually about Myra, the woman who was speaking Spanish in the film. And that was another reason I was so excited to do Super Stoked Surf Mamas, is because Myra was part of the Mamas, and I was like, oh, it's kind of like a follow-up to her story, because at the end of La Maestra, she said, oh, I just want to surf and travel. I'm not ready for a family. And then so
it's really cool when we screen them together, and it starts with that, and then it goes into ours where she's like, I have a kid now, and I live in Santa Cruz.
We screened La Maestra I think 2 years ago. And in the film, you know, Myra talks about her first time in Hawaii. Was that when she was here for the screening?
Probably.
I think that was
She
it?
already had her baby. Oh, right.
Yeah,
that
so
was it.
she got pregnant, and they had, what do you call it, a baby moon? Is that where you go? Yeah, a baby moon. Because she had her first few months of pregnancy were really difficult, and like you said, she almost lost her baby, and then everything just kind of like, okay, her body, you know, was like, well, here we go. And so everything was fine. She got cleared to go in the water, although I'm not quite sure if she was cleared to go surfing. But when she came to Hawaii, I mean, how could you resist? And she just decided to go for it. She came home just like, oh my God.
It's been a while. Yes, question here.
My body surfed up until 3 days till I gave birth. And
Wow.
I think because the baby's floating and you're floating, it's the best exercise you can have, you know.
Thank you for sharing that.
That's incredible. I have no idea how the bodies are doing. Immediately transitioned into grabbing a surf mat and going out in the ocean and just floating. You know, and I wasn't at the place where I could like go sit in a peak and catch a wave and compete, but I was just like, I have to be in the water. I did it every day.
Oh, is that your daughter right there?
Oh,
Oh,
you had some good stories.
Yeah, and she makes movies now. So there you go.
Yeah.
yeah. Body surf, may I ask?
I made a movie about my mom because she was at the Stubby surf competitions in Australia. We grew up at those kind of competitions, living in tents and campsites by the surf competitions, and my mum cut up a wetsuit into a swimsuit, and it was kind of like one of those first, I think, O'Neill wetsuits kind of jumped on that, and she would, we grew up in surf and watching the surfers, and when the surfers would come to Australia, it was the most exciting thing, and so we've spent our lives around surfers and surf filmmakers, including Caroline, who made an amazing surf film, and Dick Hool, so we loved all these films. They were just so wonderful. Thank you for making them.
Your pregnancy surfing was amazing. I love that.
When you were out surfing and that big, and you weren't with all your sisters out there, did you get attitude? Because when I was pregnant, I got out there and I got a lot of attitude that people were like, you shouldn't be doing that. And I was, I was fine, and I knew what I was doing, but I really did get a lot of pushback from, because I didn't have a community around me, and it was really, me and the guys out there in the water. I'm an occasional girl, but yeah, it was a bummer.
Yes, and that is part of the reason why I felt like this was there was a story here, because nobody was ever flat out to my face giving me, verbal, negative feedback, but I would get those backhanded comments or those looks and these things that I would pick up on and think, like there's some judgment on this right here, and this is controversial. On the other spectrum, got a lot of support. And there were men that were like, you can go out anyway, especially anyone that's had a child or been through like having a wife or a partner who had a kid, like they know, right? So they're just like, they were so supportive in that way. But it was mixed. It was a mixed bag.
Clearly, women have been having children for many, many centuries, and women have been very physical. I mean, you had to go work in the fields or you didn't eat, right? So you worked until the baby popped out. And it just seems, in more modern times, there's this weird, like, you have to be so careful and you can't do anything that you used to do, before you were pregnant. And I just find that so strange. Like, we all know our bodies pretty well, I think, and you just listen to your body and you're not going to like take up surfing right after you get pregnant probably, but if you've been surfing for a while or skiing or whatever it is, and you have a healthy pregnancy, I don't see why not. It's probably really good for your body. You want to keep strong, keep those muscles toned, because you're going to have to push a big kid out at some point. So it's good to be fit.
Just to add to what she's saying, I think that's top priority no matter what, to remember that. And to, you are growing a child and you want everything to go well.
I guess we'll just wrap things up here, but thank you guys so much for being here. And again, for everyone here, please, support this film by voting outside.
I want to thank you, Sarah,
thank you.
for staff. They've shown all three of my films, and it's just such an honor to be here, and I'm really grateful. And also to Surf Jack for giving me a beautiful room. If any of your friends come to visit, I highly recommend it. It is a fantastic hotel, and they just showed me so much aloha. There's really cool people.
Don't move. Hold on. I need a picture.
Katie wants to take pictures. We always forget to
Remember,
do
it's
this.
at Surf Mama.
We always forget to do this. So really wanted to do this today. So thank you all so much for being here. This is just an absolutely incredible experience for me, and I know for us. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
New in town, ain't had much chance to get around. Feeling lonely in the middle of this crowd. Back at home, everyone was standing there waving goodbye to that crazy small town boy with big city dreams. Yeah, that's me. You don't know me from Adam or Eve. There's no familiar in the face that you see. You're just a somebody to me, and I'm somebody's stranger.